Typically, we view conflict as a hurdle, something to be avoided. But once we start to see conflict as an opportunity, as a way to grow, as a way to build relationship, not to destroy relationships, that's when our mindsets start to shift. And a lot of our perception around conflicts comes from a presumption that conflicts are hard. There are people involved, their emotions are involved, people are unpredictable, so things are just messy. Hello there, this is Yogi. I am a career and life coach and I help people do their life's best work. And whatever comes in the way of them doing their life's best work, I help people go past it, overcome it, and do what needs to be done to keep focused on their life's best work. And today we are talking about an obstacle that occurs often in trying to do the best work. And that obstacle is conflicts. Conflicts with people around them, conflicts with colleagues, conflicts at home, and moreover, our inability to work through and resolve those conflicts. I used to hate conflicts. I grew up in a family that tended to shove the conflicts under the rug and didn't talk about conflicts. And I grew up feeling anxious and nervous around conflicts. Even until a few years ago, conflicts were a no-go zone for me. I would rather do anything else than work with people in resolving conflicts, to work through some disagreements we have had. But it's only recently, maybe in the last 5 to 7 years, that I've started to see the power that comes by approaching conflicts in an empowering way. When I was working at Facebook, I ran into a conflict with one of my managers, and the way I worked through it and the kind of benefit I got in terms of my professional growth by going through that conflict was just mind-boggling for me. Also, I had inner conflict about asking for money and negotiating salary and compensation when I left Facebook, when I was interviewing at other places, and going through a couple of those negotiations and internal conflict really helped me see what is possible when I'm not afraid of conflicts, but willing to step into conflicts. And it's not just my stories. I have worked with many executives and a lot of technical folks in the past 5 years. I've seen such transformation happen in many of my clients when they step into conflicts with an empowering mindset. They're willing to work through their emotions and they are seeking positivity in the situation. Their effectiveness goes through the roof. And today, I want to share some of those insights, some of those mindset shifts that most likely will help you also to approach conflicts in a productive way. When it comes to approaching conflicts in a way that helps us personally and professionally, the first piece is that of mindset. How do we view conflict when it occurs? Typically, we view conflict as a hurdle, something to be avoided. But once we start to see conflict as an opportunity, as a way to grow, as a way to build relationship, not to destroy relationships, that's when our mindsets start to shift. And a lot of our perception around conflicts comes from a presumption that conflicts are hard. There are people involved, their emotions are involved, people are unpredictable, so things are just messy. And what I have realized over time is that conflicts are actually very easy. Human relationships can be fundamentally very easy to work with. And when I start to see human relationships as simple, not complex, it gives me insights about how to approach people, how to approach relationships. For example, one of the mindsets I use to make relationships simple is to try to make people's life more wonderful. It's not about being right, it's not about proving anything, but just helping people's life become more wonderful. And that tends to make relationships very, very simple for me. So this mindset shift is about seeing conflicts as simple, not complex. A similar mindset that we tend to use that makes it hard to resolve conflict in an empowering way is when we try to resolve conflict fast on our own timelines. But it's very helpful to shift that mindset when it comes to resolving conflicts, building relationships. Go slow. Of course, we might have some outcomes in mind, but people's emotions and the relationship outcomes cannot be forced on our own timeline. If we do the right thing, the right outcome will eventually occur, just can't control the timeline of that outcome. And finally, when it comes to mindset, one philosophy or one mindset shift that's super helpful in resolving conflicts powerfully and building deeper relationships is to approach relationships in a win-win way, where we find or rather co-create solutions to existing problems where all the parties involved win. A lot of times we give up too quickly. Oh, this is not possible to have win-win for everybody. But it's very rare to find a situation where we cannot find win-win for everybody. And that is mostly because of our lack of imagination, lack of willingness to keep at it in order to find a win-win solution. If we keep at it, we are able to find win-win situation in almost everything. And win-win solutions are the only one that are self-enforcing, where people are incentivized automatically to keep the agreement. Otherwise, we will not be able to keep the resolution that is win-lose. So in terms of mindset, there are 4 different mindsets we have talked about. Conflicts are helpful. That's a mindset shift. Conflicts are easy once we understand the dynamics of human relationships. It helps to slow down, not go fast, when it comes to resolving conflicts and building relationships. And finally, it helps to keep our eye on the win-win solution, co-creating a win-win situation, not to resort to a win-lose or a lose-lose outcome. Once we have these mindsets in place, or at least we are willing to shift our mindset towards these, then next, let's focus on mastering our emotions. A lot of times when we are in a conflict, our emotions are very high. We become very emotional and we do things that make us feel good in the short term, but long term, it destroys relationships. We might feel right in the moment, but not able to bring people along and influence people during that conflict. And part of mastering emotions is how do we manage our emotions that are arising during the conflict and not let them spiral out of control where they are not helpful for our long-term goals. The second part about mastering emotion is to understand the distinction between expressing emotions and suppressing emotions. Both ways, suppressing emotions is not helpful. Expressing emotions in a way that other person is not able to listen or other person gets triggered is also not helpful. What is really helpful is to be vulnerable and really express emotions in a kind, caring, compassionate way, even if you're angry. Not make it about the other person, but make it about what's going on inside of you, and then express emotions, or rather express the sensations behind the emotions in a way that is not threatening or blaming the other person, but expressing it in a way that they can actually listen to the content of what you're saying. A lot of times when we express emotions, other person gets triggered and they're not able to hear what we are saying. But the way we want to do it is to do it in a way that they can hear what we are trying to say. And that, what I call transforming the emotion, by focusing on the emotion and the sensation behind the emotion itself and bringing that forward in a communication. And the third piece about emotions is to not wait until tomorrow. When we are in the middle of conflict, it feels like tomorrow or later will be a better time to deal with it. But tomorrow is almost never a better time to work through a conflict. It feels like that, but most of the time when conflict brewed inside the privacy of people's mind, they make it hard for people to be rational. And we want to bring it out to the forefront as early as possible and not wait until tomorrow. Although the emotions will tell us it feels like it'll be easier tomorrow, I want to avoid it today. So when it comes to mastering emotions, we want to focus on the long-term relationship, not short-term benefit of being right or getting a kick out of saying something pointy or mean to somebody. We want to go beyond expressing and suppressing emotions and really communicating the content and the sensations behind the emotions, and also not wait until tomorrow to express those emotions, but do it today. And the third and the final point I want to talk about managing conflicts is seeking positivity through the conflict. When we are in the middle of conflict, we really get into tunnel vision. The conflict itself takes a life that is bigger than itself, and we are not able to see anything beyond that conflict. We get into what we call tunnel vision, and we want to avoid it by consciously focusing on a few things. When we are in the middle of conflict, there's no hurry, as we talked about, to resolve the conflict right now. And in the meantime, we do want to engage in conversations and also focus on what is going well, to appreciate the other person, to appreciate the people we are in conflict with, so that conflict is not the only way we engage with people. We want to be grateful for people with whom we are in conflict with and genuinely find in them what we are grateful for. Another thing that we can do to keep positivity in mind is to deal with conflicts early. We don't want to wait until we are really so upset with a conflict that we are not able to see beyond the conflict. So whenever we notice a conflict, even though it's very small, we want to deal with those small conflicts early on so they don't become big. This is akin to what social psychologists call broken window theory. When we attend to minor conflicts in time, over time, the major conflicts start to reduce also. And finally, it's also helpful to remember that conflicts are not the only time we feel uncomfortable. Even if we want to appreciate someone in a way that we are not used to, that might generate a feeling of discomfort. And it takes effort to be able to appreciate people in a way that we've not done before. So the part of seeking positivity is to seek positivity, be grateful, but also communicate that gratefulness to people around us. And that can generate discomfort also. And we want to engage in that discomfort, not just in the discomfort that comes from dealing with conflict per se. So when it comes to seeking positivity in a situation, we don't want to get tunnel vision. We want to really focus on what is going well also. We want to deal with conflicts early, not late. And also, when we find something positive about people around us with whom we might be in conflict, we want to communicate those positive things also to them. And that itself could be uncomfortable for us. But we want to engage in that discomfort. So let's summarize this. As I mentioned earlier, I used to dislike conflict. And there have been some experiences that helped me convince myself that conflicts are good for me. They can help me grow. And those experiences led me to think deeply about what is it about conflicts that can help me grow. And what I have found over time, working in my own life and working with hundreds of people and executives over the past 5 years, is the mindset we have about conflicts make a big difference about how conflicts turn out for us in our life. Mastering emotions really help us get through our conflicts and get the most out of conflicts. Otherwise, we are suppressing emotions, expressing emotions in a violent or emotionally violent way, or just trying to avoid conflicts and just punting it until tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. But mastering our emotions around conflict will really help us use the conflict for our own personal and professional growth and growth of the people around us. And finally, by seeking the silver lining in every situation and not getting into tunnel vision, help us see what's going well despite the conflict and catch the conflict early on and build deeper relationships instead of destroying relationships because we are not willing to engage in the conflicts early on. That is all for today. If I could leave you with one thing about conflicts, is this. We want to do all that with kindness from our heart. As I mentioned earlier, relationships are very easy if we seek to make other people's life wonderful in our relationships. I want to leave you with that thought, and I would love to hear from you how you work through your conflicts. Are you finding that way empowering? Is it helping you, or is it not helping you? If it's helping you, what part of the way you work through conflicts is working? And if it's not helping you, then what from here you can adapt in your own life and make your own in order to build deeper relationships, to work through some conflicts and do your life's best work. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments below.